I do something slightly different, which is if I think I'm in a room with a bunch of sophisticated people, I just give up. And I revert to level 0 because I know I'm going to lose. No, I think that's got to be the right answer, right? That people adapt their level of sophistication to their circumstances and in ways that are almost certain to be very, very complex. And some of them will be straightforward and logical like that. I'm playing against sophisticated players. If I want to win, I better be more sophisticated. Some of them will be completely random. Like, I'm in a room that's painted blue. It just makes me feel relaxed and I don't want to think that hard. You know, it'll be something. So who knows, right? And this is where I think, well, yeah, I'm going to spare you the digression. So I started to ask what about levels 3 and 4, and I'll come to that in a second. Couple of observations. If a player has a dominant strategy, then a level 1 type or above will play it. Right? A level 0 we define as playing randomly. But if you have a dominant strategy, then it's going to be dominant against a random selection, just as it's going to be dominant against any specific selection. So a level 1 will choose it, and every level above that will choose it as well. Then if one of the players in a 2-player game has a dominant strategy, then opponents of at least level 2 will play Nash equilibrium. Right? Because if you've got a dominant strategy, I know you're going to play it, and my best response to that is by definition a mutual best response. And then what's really interesting, and I think this is generalizable, is that if there's some level, we'll call it K-wiggle, such that level K-wiggle players play Nash equilibrium, then any player above K-wiggle will also play that Nash equilibrium. Right? Because once players at a certain level are zeroed in on a Nash equilibrium, players above that level are thinking, this person's going to play this Nash. Well, my best response to Nash is Nash. That's the definition of Nash. Okay. So levels 3 and 4 will just continue to do the same thing here because this game converges to a Nash equilibrium. That's, as you'll find if you work through problem set 11, that's not always the case. Okay. A few comments, and then I'll go through a couple of fun examples. Okay. Level K is what's referred to as a non-equilibrium solution concept. This makes it highly non-standard, even if it's not irrational, which we've seen it is. Standard behavioral economics proceeds on the basis of equilibrium solution concepts. Right? Equilibrium meaning no player that in an equilibrium strategy profile, work don't work, or opera football, that a strategy profile is only equilibrium if all the players are in that strategy profile are doing their best response to all the other players. Right? That's to say they have no reason that they would not profit from individually deviating while everybody else stay the same. Okay, that's the definition of equilibrium. And there's a huge, like we've talked about, dominance and iterated deletion of dominated strategies in Nash equilibrium, but we haven't talked about subgame perfect equilibrium, but we've done it because what we did with sophisticated beta delta was subgame perfect equilibrium. But there's just an almost infinite profusion of modifications of different equilibrium concepts to try to explain certain outcomes that don't fit with, say, Nash equilibrium or subgame perfect equilibrium. But they all have the same feature, that once you've defined what equilibrium means, that the only outcomes that will count as solutions to a game will be those in which the solution strategy profile makes it impossible for anybody to do better by deviating. That's not the case with level K. Okay? If you assume that players are all level 1, then the level K model predicts that player 1 and player 2 both won't work, and that is not an equilibrium of any kind. We don't call that a level K equilibrium. We call it a level K solution. But it's not an equilibrium, because player 1 could do better by deviating from that strategy profile, by working. Right? So, in some sense, again, we've got this thing where we relax this sort of very core thing that standard economics always clings to, this kind of rationality, that in equilibrium people will be doing the best they can given what everybody else is doing. We relax that, and we suddenly get, we might get better predictions, which is what behavioral economics is always trying to achieve, better predictions. But again, we've sort of blown a hole in the normative side of things because we've got people doing things that are not best for them. And we don't like that. Economists don't, we're scared of that. Because as soon as you've got people doing things that aren't best for them, there's a role for the government. And we're paid to not like that. Sorry, I'm being cynical, I know. Notice that sometimes the level K prediction is the same as Nash equilibrium, and that is because there are cases in which the Nash equilibrium follows from iterative logic. Now, it's not just because the Nash equilibrium follows from iterative logic. It's because the Nash equilibrium follows from iterative logic with a finite number of rounds, a number of iterations. So I should stick in the word finite. Okay, so the P-beauty contest, you can use iterative deletion of dominated strategies to wind up with a Nash equilibrium, which is that everybody guesses 0. But notice that required that the number of rounds n approaches infinity. Right? So there's no level K high enough that a level K thinker would do the same thing as Nash equilibrium in that case. But if you have a game, I believe what I'm about to say is a generalizable result. If you have a game where the Nash equilibrium can be solved through a finite number of rounds of iterative deletion of dominated strategies, then a level K player whose level is higher than that number of rounds is going to wind up at that solution. Right? That's what we just saw here, was that this game is dominant solvable in 2 rounds of iterative deletion of dominated strategies. And so anyone who's level 2 or above, or when both players are level 2 or above, the level K prediction is going to be the same as the Nash equilibrium. Which is, in some sense, another way of saying Nash equilibrium is a satisfying concept when it's an unnecessary one. Right? That when the Nash equilibrium can be solved using a non-Nash solution concept, dominance, then all of a sudden it starts to make sense, right? But of course in situations, boy, this is horribly tautological. I need to take this out of the slide. Of course when the Nash equilibrium is the same as the level K prediction is still correct. Okay, I need to screw my thinking cap on a little tighter. The point I'm trying to make here is that when Nash equilibrium is the right model in the sense that it actually fits the data, it's actually embedded within the K-level model. Because this, at least in the situations I'm describing here, where you get the Nash from a finite number of rounds of iterative logic, the reason that the Nash model fits the data in those situations is because it actually follows the same logic as the level K model. So in some sense, when Nash works, it's a subset of level K, where it can be thought of as being embedded within level K. Okay? Now, that is not a generalizable statement. There may be situations in which the Nash equilibrium happens to be what you observe in the data for reasons that have nothing to do with iterated deletion of dominant strategies. Okay? In which case, my statement about level K embedding Nash equilibrium may not be correct. Okay, third comment I want to make about this model. Both of these, and I sort of played on this for laughs, sort of seem to suggest that players are arrogant, and that every single person in the model thinks that they're the smartest person in the room. Right? These are all Enron employees. that's not necessarily, or even what we think of as the most natural interpretation. We can think of K as simply defining the maximum sophistication that players are capable of achieving, or the maximum effort that they're willing to expend. And that's, I think, what most behavioral economists think of this model as capturing. Right? Right. So it's not. I mean, for me, it's very much this. I don't play games of strategy because I always lose. I only play games of skill. Okay. Now let's look at a couple of examples, and then I think we might have to cut things short. So this is. I'm going to walk you through part B of the problem in problem set 11, which is called Meet Me at the Station. It's Bob and Betty, who, for some reason, are traveling without cell phones or don't know each other's number, even though they're married. And they have planned to arrive at the same train station from different places, or perhaps on different trains, but they haven't decided where to meet. There are two possible meeting places in the station, two different cafes. There's a sunny cafe and there's an indoor cafe. And they've decided that they will meet at one of these cafes, but not which one. And they have no form of communication before or during their trip. Their preferences are defined in this grid. They strongly prefer to be together, but they also prefer to be in the sun. I think I mentioned last time, Bob and Betty are my father and his wife. So everything in this game is exactly true to life. And I actually read the problem to both of them, and they laughed out loud and said, you completely understand our marriage. Okay, so Nash equilibrium, right? Like a lot of other, this is similar to Battle of the Sexes or what side of the road should we drive on. As long as we do the same thing, we're okay. But there's no clear prediction. Now, leaving aside the game matrix and the assumptions that I've made about the game and just imagining my folks and what you know about their preferences, what is the manifestly obvious and certainly correct prediction of where they will meet? They certainly will meet at the Sunny Cafe, right? This is a situation where game theory just makes our understanding of the world worse because we know for sure that these two people will meet at the Sunny Cafe. Let's see what level K predicts. Okay, so level 0 is always chooses randomly. Level 1, now since this is a symmetrical game, we can model each player as being the same, right? So we have the utility of going to the Sunny Cafe if you believe that the other person, your partner, is going to choose randomly, right? So it's one half of the payoff of going to the Sunny plus one half of the payoff. Sorry, it's one half of the payoff of going to the Sunny if let's just do Bob. If Betty's going to choose randomly, Sunny is one half of the payoff of going to Sunny when she's there plus one half of the payoff of going to the Sunny when she's not, right? 1 half times 10 plus 1 half times 1, which is 5.5 on average. And if you go to indoor, then it's an average of 0 and 6, which is 3.5, right? So obviously they will both go to the Sunny Cafe. And because Sunny is a Nash equilibrium, we can stop there and say that any set of players with a level 2 or higher will also go to the Sunny Cafe. You gotta go, why? Do you mean sort of like what's the intuition for why? Oh, that's what I said in the last slide. If there's any level K wiggle, here K wiggle is 1. Right? Because if you're level 2 and level 1 players are already playing Nash, then as a level 2, your assumption is that the other player is going to be playing their half of a Nash equilibrium. Your best response to somebody else playing their half of what is already a Nash equilibrium is by definition to play Nash equilibrium. Right? You're best responding to what you think the other person is doing. If the other person is playing their half of a Nash equilibrium, your best response to that is to play the other half of a Nash equilibrium. That's the definition of a Nash equilibrium. Okay. So we can stop after computing level 1 and just say, well, they're playing Nash, so anything above that is going to play Nash as well. So what this is capturing, I made this problem up out of my head. I don't know if this is, I've not done any experimental tests on this. I've not seen any experimental tests on this. But for me, what this is capturing sort of is what feels to me like not too far. I don't really think that people think that their partners will choose randomly. But I think what this captures is that there's just a sense in which it's manifestly, if you don't know where your partner will go, and you've got to make some assumption about where they will go, you might not literally think that it'll be random and figure out that going to the Sunny Cafe is better for you if they choose randomly. But it's like, my sort of way of thinking of this starts with level 2, which is you've got to come up with some idea of where you think your partner would go. So if you're a level 2, what the model is essentially capturing is, I don't know for sure where my partner will go, but it's sunny at the Sunny Cafe, which means that on balance, she's always going to be inclined to go to the Sunny. So let's just assume she does that, right? And the model captures that by sort of saying, let me assume that she's at least thinking about it. Let me assume that my partner is at least not level 0. Right? If she's level 0, then I don't think that level 1 captures any kind of psychological realism in this example. But I think level 2 does. Because what level 2 does is it says, let me at least assign my partner a modicum of thought. Okay? And any modicum of thought whatsoever, whether it's that she thinks I'm going to be random or anything else, is going to get her to the Sunny Cafe. Because it's just obvious that that's the place to go. Okay? So that's my attempt at, I just did so, you should all be very annoyed with me at the moment, because at the very beginning of the semester, I complained rather vociferously that the thing that's so annoying about the standard approach is that we make assumptions because they're mathematically convenient, and then we justify the psychology that they imply. And I think I just did that, which is to say I'm not really being a very good behavioral economist, so you should not be letting me off the hook, nonetheless. That's the real point of this slide is simply to show you how to do the math. Okay, another coordination game, right? So that's a coordination game. This is another somewhat different coordination game. It's called the Stag Hunt. It's named after a story from Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who was a French philosopher who inspired many of the French revolutionaries in the First French Revolution. And the idea here is that you've got a group of people, we'll start with just 2, who've got to get some food, and they've got to decide what to go and hunt, and they make their decisions independently, and the result of their independent decisions is an outcome for the whole group. And each of them can either choose to participate in hunting stag, or just go and hunt a hare, a rabbit. Okay? And the idea in this grid is basically that one person can catch a hare, but catching a stag requires coordination. So if one person chooses to go after a stag and the other chooses to bail out and just get a hare, the person who went after the stag isn't going to get anything. Okay? If they coordinate and catch a stag, and the assumption is that if they coordinate, they will catch a stag. Okay? Then they'll each get half of a stag, and we're going to assign that. We're going to normalize that and assign that a utility of 1. And then the idea here is that if you bail out and go just catch a hare for yourself, regardless of what your partner does, you'll get a hare for sure, and a hare is worth less than half a stag. Okay? All right. Once again, Nash makes no prediction, because both stag, and hare are Nash equilibria. What about level K? Okay, level 0 we know is choosing randomly. Level 1, and it's symmetric. The utility of going after a stag is that with probability 0.5, your partner will have gone after the stag as well, and with probability 0.5, your partner will have gone after the hare. And so you'll get an expected utility of 0.5 from going after stag, whereas if you go after hare, you're guaranteed to get x. Okay? And what that means is that you will cooperate if the value of getting a hare is less than half of the value of half of a stag. Right? Does that make sense? Now, that's symmetrical. So both players, if x is less than 1/2, both players' best response to level 0 is to go after the stag. And if x is greater than 0.5, both players' best response to a level 0 is to go after a hare. Which means what about level 2? It'll just be the same, right? Because this is a situation where level 1 plays a Nash equilibrium. So level 2 will play the same Nash equilibrium. Okay? So in this case, level K model not only gives a prediction, and one that we can go and test, but it also captures an intuitively compelling comparative static, right? Which is that the prediction will change depending upon how big the hare is, or how little, if you think of it as how big the hare is, or how little the stag is, right? If the hare is a jackalope, and it's a really big thing, then what's the incentive for me to take the chance that you might bail out on the stag hunt? But if a stag is a thing that's going to feed my family for a week, and a hare is just sort of a pain in the neck, a tiny little thing, then it's worth it to me to take a chance on the stag. Then we can go beyond this and think about another comparative static, which is what's the effect of the size of the group. We've looked at this for just 2-player setups, but what if there are n players? What if this is a whole society of people deciding, for example, whether or not to solve the problem of global warming? Okay? As before, all stag and all hare are the only two Nash equilibria. Either everybody collaborates or nobody collaborates, but equilibrium where some people go after the stag and others don't is not Nash equilibrium, because unless everybody goes after the stag, nobody's going to get the stag. Okay? Shoot, I've only got 10 seconds. Well, we'll stop here. Come back to it.